Today we are talking about
blending.
Vocal blending.
I had to read it then. That's how so on it we are.
You know, no, I think the reason why you needed to read that was because of all the millions of articles that we're writing.
It's just endless
all around the world. It's very easy to get mixed up when you're
giving.
Always giving.
Always giving.
Be nice to receive a little bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, what would you like to receive though?
Material things, probably.
Cuddles. I don't know what it's about today, but I could do with a cuddle today.
I'll take money. Yes, so guys, you'll have to let us know if you can hear us.
Chat.
Let us know if we're too loud, too soft, or too annoying. You know, you can always let us
Likely.
know. Yeah. But we would like to put some questions out there, first of all. Like, you're all saying hello, keep saying hello, just so we know you're here. But also let us know, are you here because you're a singer? Because you're a backing vocalist? Yes, Charlie, that is a Yeti. We love it. Are you a backing vocalist? Are you a choir director or a choir member? Are you here just for the nerdery? So please let us know your status. And along with that, actually, let us know what your struggles are when it comes to singing harmonies. We're going to talk quite a bit about the technique of it, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of split in two, isn't it? It's the foundations of technique to enable or allow us to be able to blend, which we actually think is quite an advanced thing to do, don't we? Right? Like any of the other techniques, belting, distortion. I know they're not in the same group, but blending is difficult, especially if you can't sing very well. Right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that, the foundations of technique first. But yeah, please keep on letting us know who you are and what you do and what you want to know. What you want to know.
Hi, Amber. Yes, you are a huge hashtag vocal nerd. So if you're here for the nerdery, that's why I would be here, really. I don't really care about harmonies. No. I'm just joking. All right. Just joking. So let's start a little bit with the article. In the article, we discussed quite a bit about the anatomical movements that can be created in order to create or to develop blending. I'm just going to look at my list here. But we did look initially at tone.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing to think about here before we start anything is that I know it might sound obvious, and everyone in this group is here probably because you're a teacher or you're an advanced singer, so sorry about that, but it's worth covering. You can't... Oh, I'm going to think of a really bad analogy then. You can't
throw stones.
You can't you can't cook
with
a meal
with a bush
without the ingredients. Just saying. So
is the meal the harmony? Just trying to extract what information I can from that.
You're keeping up.
Yeah,
keeping up.
So we need the ingredients.
And what are the ingredients? Ingredients are mainly like awareness of how to use the instrument, and in this sense the main thing is obviously when we're looking at tone, I think we spoke about twang or something in there, didn't we?
Hoot, which is this hoot,
and twang, which is kind of this.
Yeah, and so doing that you have to have awareness of how to move your larynx to begin with, and then clearly how that is synced with everything else in the vocal tract at the same time. So having that one, and it may sound obvious to you guys because you're here and you're good, but like there will be some people out there that are trying to blend in harmony when they've got no idea how to move the larynx, or at least control the larynx to begin with. So that's what we wanted to set that straight first. It's like, let's make sure we got our house in order before we move on.
So yeah, if we're talking larynx movement, then Steve is talking about awareness. If you lack laryngeal control because strain is too prevalent or present, then vocal blending for you will be a pain in the butt. Because quite often, if you're a guy or a girl having to sing what everyone, you know, like you hear the third above, right? So the next interval above the lead vocal. If the lead vocal is someone like Adele, you know, or for guys, maybe it's someone like, God, heaven forbid it, like Bruno Mars or Bon Jovi, you know, you've got an incredible job as a backing vocalist to be on that line, haven't you?
Yep.
Because it seems like when you go higher than that, it's acceptable to be using a whole different setup in the larynx. You know, you can go to the slightly easier place of whatever you call it, head voice, you know, but in that third above, quite often the desire is for a sound that almost matches the lead.
Yeah.
In terms of the setup, what would be quite strong or has the perception of some chest in it. So laryngeal control and vocal technique is crucial if you're on those kind of lines. And, you know, I think the guy who sings in Bon Jovi's band is called Richie Sambora.
Okay.
And he plays guitar. And goodness me, his voice has to be phenomenal to be singing that line. You know, the third above Bon Jovi constantly. Goodness me. So we are talking about the basis of technique, laryngeal control, the fact that if you go up and down in pitch, that your larynx doesn't necessarily like hike up or uncontrollably moves in any direction as you do ascending in pitch. And that would be one of the basis techniques for beginning to blend.
Yeah, consistency. I like that. Because if you haven't got the consistency, then we haven't got a chance to begin with. But the goal, dependent on what, it's goal dependent. This is dependent on what choral setting we're in. So contemporary is always. I just find that a lot of time in contemporary choral settings, pop choirs, there's the goal is be loud.
Be as loud as you can.
Yeah. And the tricky thing is that contemporary solo singing, I think, you know, people drift into what would be perceived as like a belt posture quite a lot, even without knowing it sometimes, which, as we know, isn't sustainable. And so if we're trying to replicate that in a group setting, when we don't really have control of volume and we're using settings or postures that are stressing the voice, that's when we can run into problems. But sorry, then I went down on a rant there. But what I mean is, like, the goal of the pop choir is to create this kind of like vibrant sound. So in which case, if you're in whichever group of that, whichever harmony group you're in, if you're like, that's not going to be appropriate for any part of that choir, because you know, lowering the larynx, making that kind of hooty sound, it's not appropriate for the final sound. So it's always goal dependent on what kind of choral sound we're going for. And you can kind of work that out for yourself, like, you know, pop, vibrant. We're going to start to work a little bit more towards the twangy sound,
yeah,
and more of a commercial solo sound, as opposed to maybe classical might be a little bit more. Ooh.
Yes, unless I find in contemporary settings, unless the harmony is in every part is supposed to be in falsetto, or in that kind of
so style interpretation, right? Style interpretation,
occasionally, like falsetto voices or voice falsetto sits kind of happier often on a low larynx. But if we're looking for volume and a contemporary sound,
yeah,
where we're not just thinking about falsetto, it's quite a strong sound there. I think you're right. The whole twang thing is what the market wants, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So to master that is important.
Yeah, and then as a director, as like a choral director, then you're talking about breaking down lines, breaking down individual words. If you're not getting enough energy on a certain word, then truly, like, I mean, I do it. I like, if there's a certain word, I will just obviously stop and get them to run the line again, whilst manipulating the vowel, which, as we know, then manipulates the sound that comes out, manipulate the vocal tract, and just as you would with a solo singer, you know.
Because I think that's an interesting point, actually, what makes harmony singing difficult.
Yeah.
Because vowels help us to be more efficient and sometimes louder with the way they affect resonance in different parts of the range.
Yep.
But in harmony, you've got the added problem of you guys need to be matching vowel for a large part as well as tone.
Yep.
So to find how much adjustment you can make to a vowel to make it more comfortable for you, but not go out of the realms of the blend, I think that's a massive job, depending on what pitch you're singing.
You're so right. And again, this is to take that into real time. You will often hear, I mean, because my background's contemporary pop choir, is like that's what I am used to, but I'm sure it happens everywhere. The director would offer a line, and that line is either like pre-recorded or sung, and they're singing it once in the way that they sing it, maybe for it to be comfortable, but may not be considering the group sound, that the goal of the group sound. So sing it that one way, the vowel comes out of their mouth in a certain way, and as you just said, the higher harmony might require an adaptation of that vowel in order to either blend it or to create a certain effect. So more thought needs to go into, okay, I've just heard either from the singers out there, there's Martha's giving me a line. Where does this sit in my range to A, to be comfortable, and B, to suit the style of the song? Or for the director to go, okay, actually, do I need to sing this line 4 times?
Yes, with 4 slightly different pronunciations.
Yeah.
Because it's funny that, when you get into acoustics, when we're training someone to sing a line that's really high in a lead vocal, and like you said, a lot of these harmony lines are sung like lead vocals. You're training someone to sing a lead vocal, and you posture it in their speech. Like sometimes we might say like, say instead of say and down in speech, because it's weird. I won't get into the acoustics, but in speech it sounds dark and stupid. But at the top, it sounds bright.
It was really bright.
Yeah. But that's what we mean. Like when it comes to larynx position, it can't be wholesale. It depends which pitch you're on. And you know what? The lower you get, the more obvious a low larynx becomes in the sound. So down here, it sounds really stupid. But up top, it sounds like the larynx isn't low. So if you're a choir director or you're a choir singer, you may feel that, depending on what sounds are trying to be achieved, that you might be asking your larynx to be a little bit lower if you're quite high. But maybe to get a very similar blend or a good blend, you'd have to ease off that if you were on a very low line. So that's just for you guys to experiment with. Sometimes the low singers actually require a bit more twang to match the top singers who are actually using a low larynx, but the acoustics end up creating this blend. It's very, very tricky to get right, but sensitive singers who can do it with their ears, that's the important thing. Yeah, we'll get that as a product.
That's brilliant. So there is no one way. That's the case for most things in life, right? There is no one way. So we've established that we need to have awareness of our instrument so that we can manipulate it in the ways in which, in the most ways we can. And then when it comes to listening to the line we've got to give, dependent on the goal of the chorus that we're in, we need to manipulate, based on the experience we've learned, the vowel in order to get the vibe that's required. And then we have to also bear in mind that, are we going to kill ourselves in the meantime? So like, will this change? Although that's the sound that's required, you're going to time me? And, hello voice use in general. That's what we're talking about.
It's just inefficient.
So
it's always going to be tiring.
So really, that really outlines, and for me, it fascinates me that you've got 30 to 50-year-old ladies mainly who go to a choir. Say, I used to sing when I was at school, and I haven't really done much since. And they come along and join a choir because it's fun, and we've got to bear in mind that socially, like, choirs are awesome, but jumping into this place where there's expectancies of their voice with very little experience to how to use it and it's really hard. It's like really tricky to weigh all that stuff up to actually get the most out of the voice for the choir, for yourself, and actually not hurt yourself in the process.
Mm.
So yeah,
And they're hurting yourself in the process. Yeah, you can see that in the market sometimes, can't you?
Yeah.
If you're a choir master and you want more out of this big crescendo, if the singers don't know how to safely crescendo, then and that choir is busy or sings for a long time. Some choirs are very, very busy and have a lot of gigs. Then there's a technical gap and potentially a big problem for your singers if way to increase or decrease volume is not clear.
Right.
Because you know what
Massive,
it's like.
yeah.
If volume is as much airflow as it is how much the vocal cords close, and as much as it is resonance, and we have to consider all. But if sometimes knee jerk, if you ever go like "Oi," right, you're trying to do that to be heard. But if I don't think about it, I will put all of that stress and all of that volume responsibility on my larynx, and I'll get "Oi" like that, right? But
onset,
yeah, it will be like I'll be pressing my vocal cords together to give myself more harmonic energy. That's what happens when we do that. But it's very, very minor. And if singers don't know that, some of that needs to be employed for volume. But good resonance and good vowels matched or at least supported with a good amount of airflow. Oi! Oi! Like if there's air behind that and the voice is set up nicely, then we'll get a more effective crescendo or a more effective volume increase and much less vocal damage. You know what I mean? And I think maybe a lot of singing teachers and singers aren't fully aware of how to safely increase volume. I see that a lot, and it's important, I think.
Because when you consider that, we can go back to a million studies, but the study of the tenors who all of them were overblowing in a solo setting, and not considering the fact that 40 people stood around you and you've got no control over your volume.
Yes.
So that's going to happen. And then Dr. Ingo's research on...
is it the choral research?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's essentially, isn't it? They researched the collective volume in decibels of certain singers, didn't they? Of trained and untrained singers, and it was mad because it was something like 4 or 5 trained singers could out sing in terms of volume something like 20
making up the numbers, but
but it was when you saw the figures you were like holy shit.
But it makes sense.
I mean, holy something
holy cow.
A much less offensive.
But it makes total sense because once we're able to create energy for little cost with a voice, which is our aim as a technically efficient singer, then it makes perfect sense. If you've got 6 of those guys in a room against 30 people that have got no idea what they're doing, then it's going to create, and that's what we've got to strive for, I think, in terms of, and I think we needs to be more awareness of that in especially contemporary choirs, because you just hear, well, give me more volume, like give me more energy, guys. Like I don't know how, apart from shouting a bit louder. So this is the thing. So like Paul has written here, he said, love to learn more, Ari, finding the right notes and voicing options, and maybe meet some folks and get into some harmony work. Yeah, and so I guess that what we've talked about covers that in terms of the voicing options. That I think one step to somebody that is looking to get involved in harmonies, finding the right notes and voicing options, 2 different things. Voicing options would be exploring the different voicing options of your voice independently. So literally singing songs, dopey and kind of in a twang type setting. High larynx, low larynx, whatever it takes, just playing around with the voice. It's obviously like a lot of fun as long as you're not injuring yourself, like playing around with it, and then you know what you can create as a singer. It really is that simple. There's no real rules behind this, right? And then picking the notes dependent on musical ability.
Because you're turning into a musician with harmony singing, aren't you?
It's hard. I mean, I remember when I first started out, I had no idea what I was doing. Like my singing teacher at the time, he said, can you take this Backstreet Boys song home and learn and pick out the 4 harmony parts in it?
Right.
And I came back the next week and I sung the melody 4 times.
I've got a similar one actually. Yeah, it's the
On
same.
it.
It's the same thing. I joined a band with a female singer,
Yeah.
and they hired me from my lead vocals. I was like
Yeah.
15 at the time.
Yeah.
And she would sing this line. No, she would sing my line, and I would sing it. Obviously, that's fine. It's like it's a lead vocal. Then she would go off and sing her line. I would go and sing that one, and she's like, "No, you got to sing the other one." And she's the lead singer of the band,
Amazing.
right? And in the end, she lost the will to live with me so much she just sang the harmony. And I was the backing vocalist in her band singing the lead on the choruses. And I have no clue. I thought I'm doing great here.
I'm nailing it.
I'm absolutely killing it here, guys. I don't know about you. It's the same, isn't it? But until you conceptualize harmonies, but
Time.
yeah.
Time.
So I think, it's great to go and learn harmonies. Obviously, a choir is the setting we all started out learning harmonies, right? So that's 101 really. Music theory, as in when you get a group of people together and you actually just form a major triad. You just give one group the roots, one group the second, one group the third, one group the fifth. And maybe you slap sevenths on there and you start changing them round to like minor thirds. And you just get every group to sing them in order. You play them their own dun, 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 that all that stuff. You play it to them. You get them to come in at certain times. You'll just start to reinforce their ear as to what a third is. And if you're like Paul said, you want to find the right notes to be able to sing major thirds. There's loads of Google stuff. There's loads of very famous songs that have that can teach you what an interval is, like fourths, fifths, and sixths. You'll see stuff like Star Wars and Here Comes the Bride. That will help to train your ear as to what a major third is and a fourth and all that. And as soon as you hear a lead line in a song, you'll quickly, once you know those intervals and the common sound of them, you'll be able to find your harmony lines from that. And obviously, finding the first note of your harmony line is a good start. But understanding music and how the harmony line doesn't always track the same interval as the lead line. And you learn that pretty quickly, don't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes the lead line goes, but yours doesn't.
Yeah.
You just sing harmonies over and over for that. And sometimes you need to be able to sing a major scale up and down, understand it. But that's a big start. I don't know if you find as well, if technique is out as well. My major problem of going flat in harmony lines and thinking I didn't know the line was easing into it too quietly just in case it was crap. All right.
Execute.
If you creak into a harmony line when loads of people are singing, the thing is, you won't be able to hear yourself properly against everyone who's louder. So it's very hard to reference you're on the right track. A lack of airflow in singing often results in flat notes. So until you fully commit with your airflow into that harmony line and kind of go in confident, just, bit gung-ho, your pitching's likely to be better, which is easier said than done. If you're not confident, it's very hard to go in loud, but you might as well just go in with the intensity that's required and then solve the problem if you go wrong after that, right? So that was one of my main problems for going out of tune.
Yeah, totally. I think we should skip forward to Charlie. We'll skip Claire. Sorry, Claire. We'll come back to you in a second, Claire. But I think we should skip, by the way, Snapchat. Do you want a bit of Snapchat?
We're on, guys. Yes. You're famous. Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. Do you advocate visualization, as in visualizing the note they see? I think this is really a case of there's not, again, I hate being so vague all the time, but people learn in different ways. And so some people will like that and some people won't. And I know what you're saying, like in the real world, if you're stood in front of a choir, you don't be dishing out things and somebody to go, oh, I can't believe she told me to like pick out the note.
That's a funny voice, mate.
Can't believe they tell me to do that because because you do that because it's not yeah, right. So there's in steps, right? And they say, oh, but that just takes away the musicality, and it shouldn't be done like that. Bollocks, really. Some people learn different ways, and the point is that if you dish out that disclaimer first of like, listen, guys, some of you will like this, some of you won't. If you don't, then have a bash. Like, how do you know if you can't learn in a certain way, for one thing, right?
And Charlie's also mentioned here as well. She also means like how you see a MIDI track.
Yeah.
So visually representing the harmonies on a line,
right,
as well. So which I think is like, obviously that's going to be the basics of sight singing. I've known quite a few sight singers say like they don't really know what the notes are on the stave. They're just kind of skillfully guessing the interval.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that is a way to do it. If your singers feel like that would help, I think you could experiment with that. I've never tried it. Have you?
So I just got confused. Does that mean Charlie is Charlie's boy's name, not a girl's name?
I don't know.
I'm sorry about that. I'm really sorry. I don't know why I just assumed it was, Anyway, sorry, where were we at?
This.
Yeah, MIDI track.
Yeah. And have you visually represented harmony lines like sight singing?
No, I haven't. Not from experience. No, but I'm not. Yeah, like I say, I just don't think that I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's wrong. I think that everything will work for some people.
I think in a session situation, if you're a hired gun, I think sight singing and being able to do that. He's a guy.
Sorry, Charlie. I'm so sorry.
Sight singing is important, to be able to do it like that. But equally, you get some musicians, for instance, who are excellent players, but if you take the music away, they're absolutely lost. So obviously, I think that the delivery of music and performances in that sense are, I think, more effective when they're memorized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure that's what you're getting at, Charlie. You're trying to visually represent it in the short term while they're learning. But yeah, you'll have to see if that works.
And if it was somebody, and I'm not saying this is you, Charlie, because you're obviously up on your stuff, but if somebody was doing something for a purpose, like if we were teaching something in a way because that was the only way we could do it, but that might not be the best route. Like visually interpret it, audibly interpret it. Mm-hmm. Conceptually interpret it to everyone in every way, then that you can't lose.
Yes.
Right? So that's when everything works. But yeah, I'd say like if it's because we're unable to either like sing them or whatever else, then might need to brush up on other skills before, right? But like I say, that's just an example. I'm not saying that anybody is like that, but
that's kind of what Claire's getting down to. Claire says she teaches 1-to-1, but has been asked to teach groups. I would love to know how to teach blend and technique at the same time. What comes first? And again, it's like, who knows, right?
Yeah,
you could encourage technique whilst blending, or some people might be beginner enough to not be able to perform that technique on the fly. Might need more 1-to-1 training before they get in that room, or certainly be given the harmony line that's less strenuous for them to sing.
Yeah, but the problem is, like a lot of times as a director, I'm sure you are, Claire, as well. Are you he or she? The when you're thrown into that, you've got a choir in front of you. Sometimes it can be like for one day, one afternoon at a school or a club, or it might be your choir permanently. But either way, you're thrown in with a group of people that you don't necessarily know their individual abilities, and so it's just like, okay, go. What do I teach? Do I try and get them to sing well, or do I try? And as you said, I'm getting to the point where I just go in with disclaimers all the time. I start
on paper.
It's getting decided, but saying you guys, listen up. we will be able to create much like a lot. If all of us are on the same level, if all of us are working in an efficient way, we can create some awesome sound here. And there's always room to improve. So we're always going to be collectively and individually going to increase this. We're going to work on some stuff, some scales, some stuff that should generally try and put you in the right place. I always push for like one-to-one tuition, because if you're using your voice to that degree in this advanced way, then you've got to be trying to develop it for this purpose. So pushing all that and then going, look, guys. So now this is a goal we need. I know it sounds very structured, but I feel that if you don't lay it out like this, then we are leaving ourselves open to scrutiny. And you've basically said, look, we all need to be in the right place here to do this. And some of it's my responsibility right now to give you some scales. All I can do in this time in the group situation, but it's almost like your responsibility for you to be here to actually get your stuff in order.
Yes, to get yourself properly warmed up.
So,
and you know, Claire, as well, on the fly, it depends. Sometimes the blend can encourage the technique. Sometimes a slightly lower larynx can really help some singers, and you might actually build that into your blending strategy, so it makes them easier. Sometimes, singers benefit when their mouth shape is different, but for the blending, you wouldn't want to change it. It might ruin the blend. So in that case, I find the tongue is one of the other options that you can experiment with that doesn't change the vowel too much. And for the singers that are really, really high, maybe you might want to experiment with them actually consciously moving their tongue a little further forward to give them just a little bit more release or freedom on the top. Again, that's experimenting, but I've done that with choirs before, and they've all been, the soprano line have all been a bit like, wow, and because of the mouth shape staying consistent, it didn't necessarily ruin the blend, but got a similar result of relaxing the voice. So there's plenty to do. And if you are on a high twang harmony, then the tongue being slightly further forward for some singers is going to be really beneficial if the larynx is intentionally raised. So yeah, there's lots you can do on the fly, but which comes first, who really knows?
Chicken egg. Okay,
so we've kind of gone over time, and there was so much to cover. So we appreciate you guys asking questions. I'm Chris. This is Steve. We are the Naked Vocalist, and I believe we're on Snappy Chat again.
Who's on Snapchat?
Them.
Yeah, but who on the thing on the webinar?
You can find us at thenakedvocalist.com. We have a podcast. You can come and listen to our 36 episodes. We keep making them. Also, our next article is going to be loads of fun. It's basically going to be doing myths and the stupid things we hear in the singing world. If you hear some crazy stuff from people, leave it in the comments box now. Tell us what you think. Maybe we'll feature it in the article as a myth and clear it up for you. You can find us on Snapchat. We are Naked Vocalist. Also, iSing Magazine are holding a workshop with world famous Dinosh Bennett, who's Broadway performer, singer, dancer, on tour with Robbie Williams and all that stuff. She's doing a workshop in London on March the 20th at 1 p.m. But you can get yourself along to the iSingmag Facebook page or iSingmag.com to find out more about that. And we've got a few questions in there. Sing from your diaphragm. We'll probably include that one, shall we?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. We're going to include that one, Amber, because that is a cracker.
Use your eyes to project.
Use your eyes to project. I like that. That's us done, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So are we going to go and have a big old hug?
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming and spending time with us, because we are very lonely. And that's why we have to portray our lives on social media all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Love you.
See you later.